For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen. We have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream.
The trade war continues to ramp up as new tariffs are being implemented nearly daily, both by the U.S. and its trading partners.
Many financial experts say agriculture will be one of the hardest hit industries as costs could rise and market prices could drop. Hi, I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
About 60% of all U.S. grain exports are sent down the Mississippi River and leave the country from Louisiana. That's according to the USDA.
That's why Louisiana is on the front line of any disruption in trade. Farmers say the best defense would be for Congress to pass an updated farm bill ASAP. Bright green corn plants sway in the wind on Donald Schexnayder's farm in Irwinville. It's an investment made now to pay off at harvest. Schexnayder has similar feelings about tariffs the U.S. has placed on other countries and the retaliatory tariffs that followed.
We might see a short-term effect. Long-term, I think we're better off with it.
This corn's up bigger than I was planning on it.
Andy Brown is the National Affairs Director for Louisiana Farm Bureau. He says Schexnayder shares the same sentiment of many Louisiana Farm Bureau members.
Our members are supportive of this effort. They know that they've been facing unfair trade practices, not the same playing field when it comes to costs or labor or regulations. So certainly it wasn't sunshine and rainbows. It wasn't just big time money in farming before these negotiations, so at least our members and Louisiana Farm Bureau is excited to see somebody's going to bat for them to try to get them, a better deal at the end of this.
Trade disruptions can cause commodity prices to go down. Current futures prices would have Schexnayder selling his corn for about $4.40 a bushel and soybeans for just less than $10 a bushel. Both are already low prices when compared to the cost of growing a crop.
2 years ago, we had the drought issue in the summer that really affected. Now, on top of the cost of inputs going on, it really hit us hard on that year.
Obviously, soybeans are going to get hit the worst when you look at tariffs, especially with China.
Greg Fox is a grain marketing specialist with the Louisiana Farm Bureau Marketing Association. He says if retaliatory tariffs cause commodity prices to fall in the short term, there's time before Louisiana farmers would be affected.
Hopefully, when we do get into Louisiana harvest, August, September, that we see some change with China and see that kind of open up. Because they're not going to buy from us right now anyway. They're typically looking at South America. South America's in the 80% harvest range already. So they're cutting their bean crop. And they're going to have a bigger crop than last year. They had more acres than last year. And so China's looking to buy from them regardless. So we're going to be looking into summer, fall, where China is going to come back to the table for U.S. soybeans, and then that's where it's going to impact us the most.
For Brown and Schexnayder, that just underlines the reason why farmers need Congress to pass an updated farm bill as soon as possible.
Updating some of these numbers gives us a relief to say, hey, we got something to fall back on, so it would help out the whole industry.
Certainly there's already talk of it, but we know from the appropriation cycles and the continuing resolutions that we've had to work under that the CCC, the Commodity Credit Corporation, the fund at USDA that MFP was pulled from last time is pretty low. It has a $30 billion borrowing cap, but their budget authority right now is down to around $3 billion. So unfortunately, $3 billion doesn't get very far when you spread it out across all farms and ranches across the country.
Agriculture.com reports that some ag inputs are exempt from the latest round of tariffs. That would include potash, certain herbicides, lumber products, and certain pharmaceuticals used for livestock. However, many of those products come from Canada and are not exempt from the 25% tariffs already in place on Mexico and Canada.
Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins said recently in a press conference that patience and resiliency will be required as the tariffs ramp up. But she says that those in agriculture know a little bit about both.
For our farmers farmers and our ranchers, they understand that there may be a short time of uncertainty, but for the long haul, as we restructure the American economy and the government, American economy and our private sector, with the government playing a role in that, President Trump's vision of using tariffs. Again, I'm not surprised there's some complaining, but at the end of the day, this president committed to putting Americans first, and as part of that are our farmers and our ranchers.
Rollins says that when the dust settles, farmers and ranchers will have better negotiating capabilities with their exports. Well, Congressman Clay Higgins was happy to see tariffs for the state's aquaculture industry, especially to help keep foreign crawfish out of our state.
With that in mind, we bring you these crawfish prices from around the state. In Baton Rouge, the Winn-Dixie on Seagan has live crawfish for $2.79 a pound, and boiled is $3.49 a pound.
In Lafayette, Coastal Fire and Ice has them live for $2.99 a pound and boiled for $3.99 a pound.
And in Shreveport, check out Brookshire's Grocery, where a pound of live crawfish is $3.29 a pound and boiled is just $3.99.
These crawfish prices are brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, which reminds you to always eat Louisiana crawfish and to be sure, ask before you eat.
Well, as temperatures fight to warm up, corn farmers are swapping out their planters for irrigation equipment.
It could be a good year for the crop as acreage looks like it will increase. Craig Gautreaux reports from Northeast Louisiana.
Corn planting across Louisiana started a little later than usual because of lower soil temperatures. But once conditions got right, farmers quickly got their seeds into the ground. Market conditions have producers planting a few more corn acres this year in Louisiana.
Last year we were at about 440,000 acres, and we do think that we're going to have an increase in that due to market outlooks and supply chain demand.
Favorable weather conditions in the second half of March allowed much of the corn to be planted, and warmer weather should help the corn emerge.
We're going to see a slight increase in soil temperature over the next weeks, which is going to increase our chances of good germination.
Pate Kearns was planting one of our hybrid research plots, which are valuable to farmers regarding future planting decisions.
That's to test different hybrids that are coming out from companies to test how they perform in different areas of the state under different environmental conditions, soil conditions, so that growers have that information available to them at the end of the year before they purchase seed for the next season.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture also sees corn acreage increasing nationally nearly 5% to 94 million acres. Farmers would also like to see the passage of a new farm bill, which would help them make more informed planting decisions.
And hopefully with the passing of a new farm bill, things will be put into place as far as a stable foundation for the agricultural community moving forward.
One area of concern that farmers are watching is the ongoing tariff issues between the U.S. and other countries that import U.S. grain products. With the LSU AgCenter, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
Pete Kearns said earlier in the year some farmers were considering grain sorghum instead of corn, but market conditions changed and many abandoned the idea.
Many of you have probably seen some of the dramatic video of heavy flooding in Kentucky. Anytime there's flooding up north, people in Louisiana know it all comes down the Mississippi River. State climatologist Jay Grimes says because of all that flooding, the Mississippi River could reach its highest levels since 2020. Now, those won't be record levels, but they are a cause of concern for oyster farmers and crabbers because it could mean utilizing spillways to relieve pressure on the river.
Now, for most folks, that's not going to be a real problem. But we will see occasions for sand boils and some nuisance problems along the lower Mississippi when that water level gets up to that kind of a level. Now, down there around Lake Maurepas and Pontchartrain, opening, even a small or partial opening of the Bonnie Carry can have some impacts there.
Grimes says the Red River up around Shreveport is high as well. The high water levels in the Red and Mississippi rivers can lead to flooding along the Atchafalaya.
Thanks to efforts by Louisiana Farm Bureau members, there's now a new grain bin rescue tube available for first responders. This tube was presented to the Welsh Fire Department this week. It was paid for by the Jefferson Davis Parish Farm Bureau. These rescue tubes are vital tools for rescuing someone who's become trapped in a grain bin. For a list of all rescue tube locations, visit our website at twilatv.org.
If ever you've spent time as a 4-H kid planting marsh grass and having mud fights in southwest Louisiana, chances are you know Mark Shirley.
The longtime aquaculture specialist at LSU has retired, but as TWILA's Neil Melanson tells us, his legacy will last many lifetimes.
He's officially retired, but Mark Shirley is out checking traps and water temperature in a crawfish pond. The longtime LSU aquaculture specialist says it's important for farmers to get this information during the season. His retirement can wait, as he still wants to help the industry he devoted his career to.
I've kind of enjoyed working with farmers over the years, because now I'm starting to see their kids, the second generation, almost third generation, working in the crawfish industry. And a lot of it's just basic aquatic animal husbandry. Okay, they need good water quality, they need a food supply. If you flood it at the right time, you can kind of improve.
As an aquaculture specialist, Mark was involved in both conserving and marketing alligators. He also helped conserve small alligator trappers, developing a market for them in the 1980s, even as the larger industry began to market to major overseas fashion houses.
At the livestock barn where we have our 4-H livestock shows and stuff, we turned into a big alligator sale. So we had a couple of big corporations come with their hundreds of tags, hundreds of hides, but we also had probably 100 or so smaller landowners that brought their 5 skins or 10 skins or 20 skins, and everybody got a bid from different buyers, and it results in a little bit higher price for everybody.
While he had official duties, one of his passions was helping the 4-H program. Every year, the program held its swamp maneuvers where young people got to experience the bounty of Louisiana's nature firsthand and often for the first time.
That program, I guess I've enjoyed the most. It's been a lot of fun exposing these young people to coastal wetlands, actually crawling in the mud, planting marsh grass. If you ask any of those kids, even years later, what they remember about marsh manures, they'll talk about, crawling in the mud, planting marsh grass, playing marsh volleyball in that mud, late nights shining alligators, catching crabs. Those kind of experiences stick with those kids for many, many, many years. And I guess I'm old enough, I've actually seen kids of kids. So some of that first generation that came to camp the first 5 or 10 years, I've seen some of their kids come through the program.
And while he's continuing his efforts at LSU on a volunteer basis, especially with the state hiring freeze, Mark says he's going to go enjoy himself even as he wants to stay involved in ag.
We all kind of consider this job as a vocational kind of thing. It's a way of life. And we enjoy what we're doing. We're helping people. As agents located in the parishes, I'm here in Vermilion Parish. You get to know the families, you go to church with them, you go see them at the grocery store. 3 grandkids that between soccer and swimming, I'm going to be doing some of that. And my wife and I, we do plan on doing some traveling. So fun times are ahead.
Mark's official date of retirement was March 31st, but he's still at the office tying up some loose ends. And yes, he still will be volunteering at the 4-H swamp maneuvers each year. And guys, of course, you saw on the video Mark smiling, and one of the things I really couldn't show was his sense of humor. For instance, we went to lunch afterwards, and he ordered the pork po' boy, and then he turned to me and said, "And my grandson here will pay for it." So he's constantly joking, but that's a wonderful personality that I really hope he continues at volunteer efforts, because he's been indispensable across South Louisiana for so many years.
Yeah, and that personality would come out on social media. I mean, he was great at posting these short little instructional videos about crawfish. And I even had some friends comment on them about, did not know that, like one where it explains what the fat really is.
Right, yeah. And of course, another thing we didn't talk about in the story was his involvement in the whooping crane restoration, which is part and parcel of South Louisiana, and that's a hugely successful effort that's paralleled with the recovery of the American alligator.
Well, that's a high compliment from you to say that somebody has a good sense of humor, because you're very picky about your humor in Him Song. Great story. Thank you. Still to come on TWILA, we'll travel back to the Sunflower State to see the different kinds of challenges faced by cattle ranchers in America's heartland.
Plus, farmers and ranchers are getting some very important face time with their local lawmakers ahead of the legislative session.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
This week, we continue our coverage of the 2025 Louisiana Farm Bureau Beef Tour of Kansas. The Central Plains are very different from the Gulf Coast, especially when it comes to weather.
Strong, seemingly endless winds are the norm, especially this time of year. Kansas also does not get anywhere near as much rain as Louisiana does. As TWILA's Josh Meeks explains, that makes it a very different place to raise cattle.
In the wide-open Flint Hills of Kansas, the wind never rests, and neither does Trey Hinkson. He and his father are continuing a legacy that spans generations and states.
We have a registered seed stock operation here in the Flint Hills of Kansas. We've got about 3,000 acres here on our ranch, and we raise registered Angus cattle, have since about 1960, I believe, is when my granddad kind of started that operation.
The Hinkson family's journey began in the Texas Panhandle, but water issues and changing circumstances sent them north. In 1985, they packed up and started fresh in Kansas with just 100 cows and a lot of faith.
It was kind of a tough time a little bit because, land prices were down, which was good, but interest rates were off the chart, and so there was a lot of land for sale. It's just if anybody had any money or if they had a banker that was going to allow them to make those purchases. But we did get in at a good time. And so, we've kind of just built it and kind of added a little bit here and there.
Today, the operation spans 3,000 acres of rolling grassland, but raising cattle in Kansas, especially in yearling country, comes with its own challenges. Feeding costs, unpredictable weather, and tough competition are constant hurdles.
There's not a perfect place to have cattle. I mean, there's always things that you struggle with, or things that could be improved on or made better, but you're at the mercy of Mother Nature.
Hinkson calves in the fall, meaning they feed a lot during Kansas winters. But despite the hardships, Trey's commitment to the land and his customers never wavers.
Customer service is pretty big. We're confident in our genetics because we're investing back in that by buying customers' calves and showing them that we're in support of them. And when your customers are doing good, that's the main thing.
Trey has 2 daughters. The oldest has a master's degree in counseling, but his youngest has shown interest in the family business.
I think in the next 2 or 3 years, she wants to come back and help, and she's got a little cow herd of her own. And so, the future looks good around here, and I'm going to be more than happy for her to come back and help out.
Reporting from the heart of Kansas for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Josh Meeks.
Now, one of the biggest differences between Kansas cattle and Louisiana cattle is the use of feed yards. Louisiana is primarily a cow-calf operation where calves are bred and sold. At feed yards, the focus is raising bigger, high-quality cattle. At High Plains Feed Yard, their primary focus is the science of cattle. That includes building the right diets for better quality and studying the effects of methane on the environment. In their state-of-the-art research center, manager Tom Jones says they're always looking to stay ahead of the curve.
We look at the consumer and what they think of feed yards. They obviously don't have the entire story about us. One of the first things is animal care and animal health and things like that. And being production agriculture today on the beef side of stuff, that animal health and treating the cattle right, it starts from when they're a calf, starts from day one when they're born. And that's why we have a veterinary group on staff with here. So we help these people make sure they understand that they've got the right vaccines for their cattle.
High Plains is licensed for around 50,000 head of cattle to support their roughly 300 customers across the country.
The Louisiana legislature will begin its regular session on Monday, April 14th. That's why this is a perfect time for farmers and ranchers to meet with their representatives and senators before they report to Baton Rouge. The inaugural St. Martin Parish Farm Bureau Farmer Appreciation Dinner set the stage for folks involved in agriculture to interact with their lawmakers. State Senator Blake Miguez, along with State Representatives Marcus Bryant and Chad Boyer, mingled with farmers and ranchers at the Poche Bridge Country Club in Breaux Bridge. Louisiana Farm Bureau President Richard Fontenot spoke to the crowd of nearly 100 about how the state's largest general farm organization works for them. Louisiana Farm Bureau Secretary-Treasurer and St. Martin Parish sugarcane farmer Mike Melanson says it's a good reminder for members and non-members.
I think we need a refresher course. We need to make people know what the Federation is all about, that we work for agriculture every day in the state, and they benefit by that, and we want them to help us do work. We help us with voter voice and those issues, and when an issue comes up. But really we want them to come here, have a good meal, have nice drinks, a great atmosphere, and just relax and meet other folks. And hopefully this can become an annual event that we can bring all these commodities together in one spot.
At the event, Melanson recognized longtime St. Martin Parish Farm Bureau member Michael Allen Terrio with the Distinguished Service Award. Allen is quite the character and well deserving of that award, despite being that kind of a character. Well, still to come on TWILA, where can you pet a goat and a hissing cockroach under the same roof?
That's quite an odd combo, but we'll share that magical experience up next. Stay with us.
Folks who live in Baton Rouge may say that life in the city has its perks, Starbucks, grocery stores right there. But in our opinion, it does have a pretty major drawback.
Traffic.
Well, traffic, yes, traffic. And then while you're stuck in that traffic, you don't see a whole lot of agriculture in the heart of the Red Stick.
That's what makes AgMagic so special. It's hosted each year on the campus of LSU, and TWILA's Carl Wiggers followed a toddler to see the magic through his eyes.
Hands-on learning can seem a bit cliche, but for kids like Brady and the many parents here at AgMagic, the immersive experience is just that, magic. For Louisiana 4-H Ag Literacy Specialist Hannah Duvall, this event is all about bringing the farm to more than 10,000 participants on LSU's campus who may never set foot on a farm.
They've gotten an interactive, hands-on learning experience where they were able to really delve right in and learn a little bit more about Louisiana agriculture. So our goal through this event is just to showcase Louisiana agriculture and bring that awareness to those students who maybe don't understand where their foods come from, where their clothes come from, and what commodities that make Louisiana agriculture so rich.
While Brady has a family farm to visit in North Louisiana, getting his hands on an alligator
Oh, wow, look at that.
or learning about crabs can only happen here.
It's such a special event when you can see students, they just have those aha moments of what livestock animals look like or what corn on the cob looks like versus what it's grown and what kind of equipment it takes. We have a combine here and they can see what that process looks like as it's being harvested and just really bring that awareness of the agriculture programs and systems throughout Louisiana.
Duvall says with record numbers of guests attending over the weekend, the volunteers who made the event run smoothly are the real heroes. She says AgMagic plays an important role in helping kids understand where their food comes from and connecting what they see in books and on television through these first-person experiences.
It's just so incredible to be able to be a part of bringing what students read about or see on TV, whether it's McDonald's has a farm or when they watch videos on YouTube, and be able to bring that to life for them. So they're being able to have that first-person own narrative of being able to experience that here at our event. It's just such an incredible opportunity to be part of bringing that to the people of the greater Baton Rouge area.
Reporting from the LSU campus, I'm Carl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
That's not the only place the LSU AgCenter does AgMagic. They also take it on the road to Shreveport and do AgMagic on the river at Dockville Farms just outside of New Orleans. Yeah.
Truly a great event.
A lot of fun. Took the boys twice this year. Twice. We had a lot of AgMagic.
A lot of bugs. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll take you feasting on agriculture and we're going to the goat. And that's the greatest of all time.
Greatest of all
Feasting.
time? Well, you are the greatest of all time, Kristen.
Okay.
Until then, you can watch this goat right here and all of our stories online at twilatv.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, smash that notification button. That way you know when we put something new out there.
For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.